Time to sit back, look at amazing Genji Sentai skin with the gold shiny blade in the background, listen to my voice talk about Overwatch League. We're back again, and it is the semifinals. Quarterfinals are done and over. I did a recap of them. I didn't go super well. Yeah, I went pretty in depth in that one. Talked about why I thought the teams lost that did, and why the teams won that did. I don't know why that happened. But anyway, we know what happened. We're now down to 4 teams from 6. Quick second of silence for the Gladiators and the Uprising. They both had great inaugural seasons. Neither team was even supposed to do very well. Neither were supposed to be playoff teams. A lot of people had Boston as like the worst team, and they had Gladiators as like the 8 or 9 team. So they had a great season. But it is time for them to go into the sunset and think about their offseason now. So we got 8 teams now in the offseason. We're down to 4. It's Philadelphia, New York, London, and Los Angeles, the Valiant. So, who's going to win these matchups today, and who's going to win the series? Well, we got number 6 seed Fusion. They're taking on the number 1 seed Excelsior. So Fusion were 24-16 in the regular season. New York were 34-6. It's been well documented. Oh man, whew, that was a big one. Anyway, the Fusions. I don't want to say they're dysfunctional, because they're not dysfunctional, but they're just inconsistent. They've been inconsistent all season. They've looked extremely good or extremely bad. And Excelsior have looked good basically all season. Stage 4 was definitely their they dropped 3 matches. They only went 7-3 as opposed to 9-1, which they did in their other 3 stages. So it's like, wow, it's a big fall off for them. Well, I mean, 7-3, still pretty darn good. The Fusion made it to the Stage 2 finals. They did lose to the Excelsior on that day. So this is a matchup that... This is, as soon as I saw that what the seeds were for the playoffs, I was like, oh, come on, Fusion beat the Uprising, because I need to see this Fusion Excelsior matchup. I think that Philly is probably the best matchup in the entire league for the Excelsior, or like they're the best team to counter them. And it's because they're just loaded. Their DPS, and especially, are so good with EQO and Carpe. They're just so really, oh, God, they're good. Cannot say enough good things about them as players. Obviously, Excelsior, they're extremely stacked as well. So, I mean, that's one where I would honestly, when they're all playing at their best, I think I give Philly the edge, just because Pine has effectively, I'm not going to say that he's been perma-benched, but definitely in Stage 4 he was used a lot less. Sabiolby kind of took on the Widowmaker duties, it seemed, and then Libero was on the projectile stuff. So I think they're definitely going to need Libero because of how many heroes. You need 1 DPS player in your team now to be able to cover a lot of heroes. I mean, look at it for every team. For Boston, it's mistakes. For Spitfire, it's profit. For Gladiators, hydration. Valiant, agilities, etc., etc. Basically all the teams, at least all the successful teams, have one of these. So for Philly, it's EQO. He can play so many different heroes. He's probably the best at the most amount of heroes in the entire Overwatch League, I would say right now. But second is probably Libero behind him for the Excelsior. So that'll be a great matchup to watch. Tank-wise, I think that they're kind of equal. I think that Fusion have just looked... I don't agree with them having Hotba in as much. I just think Poco... I don't even care, like, if they say, like, the communication at this point. Poco is just better, and the team just looks better when Poco's in. I don't know why, but Fusion, when Poco is playing, they look so scary. They're so terrifying. So for Philly, I think the keys are you need to get a tank. You need to get your tank lineup in there that's going to perform extremely well. EQO needs to play well so that Carpe doesn't get like really focused. And the other one, I think the biggest one, is Boombox. Boombox needs to play smart. He needs to play well. He can't waste his ultimates. He's had a history in the Overwatch League of sometimes having bad ults. I think him and Raucus from the Outlaws are probably the biggest. And Free Feel from the Dragons as well, because he's the worst Zen in the league. Zupe for the Mayhem had a lot of issues this season as well. But of like the good teams and like the good Zenyatta, because Boombox is a very good Zenyatta. It's just when he's struggling, he pops ults that they make you just shake your head and you kind of like cringe when you're watching. You're just like, ooh, they're really going to want that Transcendence back. So if he plays very well, I think Philly can easily stay with the Excelsior, especially in this new meta. I think that they can, but will they? That's the question. I don't know. And these matchups are extremely tough because I've seen Philadelphia play, we've seen London play, but we have yet to see Los Angeles and New York play on the new patch. So that will change stuff a little bit. I'm predicting a lot of Libero on the Hanzo for Excelsior whenever they're running like their Zarya, Reinhardt comps. And then for Valiant, I'm assuming it'll be Agilities playing Hanzo. I think that might be the biggest question mark for Valiant for me right now. Who's going to play that Hanzo? Because Soon will probably still be on Widowmaker because she's still useful. So Agilities, I haven't really seen him ever play Hanzo. So is he good with the new Hanzo? Can he do it? I think that's going to be extremely important in the Valiant's playoff hopes. So, like I said, I'm only going to predict for this match. The match is today. I'm not going to predict the ones for Friday or Saturday until I see Excelsior and Valiant. So, because I basically all I have to go on is what they've done previously in the year for the Excel and the Valiant. So, diving more into the Philadelphia New York match, the maps they're going to be playing on. Game 1 is Dorado. Map 2, Oasis. Map 3, Eichenwald. Map 4, if necessary, Volskaya. And then Map 5, if necessary, Junkertown. The tiebreaker is still Nepal. So, who did the maps favor? Well, I don't think they have a huge positive or huge negative for either of the teams. I think that probably map 2 is going to be good for Excel on Oasis. Eichenwald for map 3 is going to be for Philly. They've looked extremely good on that map. Philly's strongest game type, at least to my eyes from what I've seen of them the last couple stages, is easily hybrid. They're extremely, extremely good on hybrid maps, whether it's Kings Row or Eichenwald in this case. But I think that that's definitely going to be one they need to pick up. Of course, getting game 1 or 2 is going to be important as well. Philadelphia has a little bit of an advantage because they've actually played against another team on stage with the new patch out, and they're a little bit more used to it. So maybe Philly jumps off to a good start and maybe gets a win out on Dorado. But I think New York will quickly bring it back. I see this one going to 5. I think Philly wins 1, then Excelsior wins game 2. Philly grabs game 3, but then New York wins the last 2. I think this is going to be our first 5 map series of the playoffs. But I think that New York will win this just because it'll take them a little time to get rolling. But once they do, I think they're going to be good. And I think that Philly won't be bad. I think Philly will put in a good effort, but their inconsistencies are still make me nervous. And Junkertown wasn't a great map for them. And New York is especially hard to put away when you're up 2, when you got 2 on them. And Volskaya generally has not been a good map for Philly. So I guess I would say that this is a weak map pool for Philly. We knew that going into last week too, but they definitely looked better on it in the playoffs. So you can tell they've been working on their strategies a lot on these maps, and they're definitely better. But like I said, I think Hotba being in takes away from their team a little bit. He has less of that home run potential as Poco does, and just New York being New York, I think that they find a way to edge this one out, but it's going to be very close. And no matter who wins this first match, I think this one is going to go to 3. I think both teams will take a match before it's all said and done. But maybe that's just the hopeful thinking. Maybe Philly comes out bad and they get crushed. But yeah, we'll have to see. But for right now, I'm going to say New York takes it 3-2 over Fusion. And the second match, it's London Spitfire, Los Angeles Valiant. Oh man, talk about a tough matchup to predict. I mean, any match with the London Spitfire in it and the Fusion, it's just like they're so inconsistent. They're so hard to predict. You don't know what's gonna happen. London got shellacked by Gladiators without Fissure. We were like, it's over. It's done. Write them off. Don't even show up on Saturday. Saturday comes, London wins all 6 maps without dropping one. They just went off. Profit was just absolutely insane. They came to the plate when it mattered. It's the thing, Spitfire, like when they've gotten in position to like do well, when they've gotten into the playoffs, they do well. We saw it in stage 1. They fell behind New York 2-0 in the stage 1 final, and they came right back and won it. So you gotta have that clutch factor in. I think that it's like they were saying on Watchpoint the last couple weeks going into the playoffs. Spitfire are slumping last couple stages going into the playoffs, but they're the team no one wants to see. The Gladiators had beaten them in the preseason and in all 3 of their regular season matchups. They beat them 3-0 in their first matchup of the playoffs. Spitfire had never won a match against them, and they won 2 in a row. 6-0. So, London, I mean, how do you quantify this team? They're so good on paper, but sometimes they play so poorly. And then you got the Valiant, who on paper are very good, but they aren't like, they don't blow you away. You don't say, oh yeah, the Valiant should definitely destroy this team, except if they're playing one of the weaker teams. But obviously they're in the playoffs, it's the Final Four. You're not playing the weaker teams, you're playing the extremely, extremely good teams. So, the maps for this set, they're starting on Junkertown, then they're going to Lijiang Tower, going to Kings Row for Game 3. Then, if necessary, we got Hanamura for 4, or did I say Hanamura? Hanamura for map 4, and then Dorado for map 5. Of course, 4 and 5 are both if necessary. So, will they be necessary? I think at least one of them will be. I don't see this being a 3-0. Valiant might. I mean, obviously they've had weeks to prepare, so it's not like when I say like, oh man, London and Philly have an advantage because they've played on this meta before. It's like I realize that Los Angeles and New York has had a lot of time to prepare. I understand that, don't get me wrong. But I think that once you get on the stage and you're actually playing against another team that's not just in scrims, I think that it's a different feeling altogether. So, again, Game 1, I think it might be an advantage for London. If they can get the payload rolling quickly on Junkertown, I think they can mount a good defense. I don't love their chances on that map, though. I think it's a much better map for Valiant. They've been good on it in the past. And with the double snipers, London has shown to be decent at it, but they weren't that impressive running the double snipers for most of the time against the Gladiators. So I think that the Valiant will actually win map 1. It'll be close though. Then going to game 2, I think London win this one, and I usually don't predict London for control maps because they've been bad on them, but when they beat the Gladiators on this map last match, I was like, okay, this team can be really good on these maps too. And I think that they going down a map early on, I think that will spur them on, and I think that they will take that one in a close one. To Kings Row, Zarya play, I think I give the edge to Space there, so that's one tick for LA. Kings Row, you can play a lot of comps. Like I said before, it's kind of down to agilities here. If he plays, because they'll probably be running double sniper at least for some of it. If agilities pops off on Hanzo, I think Valiant win this set. But will he? Can he outperform Profit on that hero? I don't know. It'll be tough. I think that London will take this one and go up 2-1. But then for 2CP, I really like the Valiant. They have such good coordination. Coordination is extremely important for 2CP, whether it's just your setup, your having a good defense where somebody doesn't get picked right away is incredibly important, of course. And like when you're staggering people back in, it seems like the Valiant are they're probably second. I feel like they're second best in the league, like throughout the season at staggering. I think number 1, but they're extremely good at staggering, wasting time. The Spitfire have looked kind of lost on their attacks sometimes. That's definitely been their worst side. So I think that's an advantage for Valiant, and Valiant will tie it up in this one. They'll probably take it like, I could see London getting the first point, but then getting maybe like a tick of progress on the second one. That being it, and then Valiant would take it, push for second point, and then so if it's 2-2, yeah, I'm predicting 2-5s. It probably won't happen, but that's just an indication of how close these matches are for me. I think that these are just so good, so hard to predict, which I actually like. I mean, it's no fun if it's predictable, you know? So, Spitfire, Valiant. Game number 5, Dorado. Whew. Payload maps. I'm going to give Valiant the edge here. Like I said, I thought that they would win in Junkertown. They looked extremely good on these. That's what I mean. They used their strength on the escort maps to beat the Gladiators in the Stage 4 playoffs, as well as beat the Excelsior to take it. So I think that Valiant win this one. Because it's the first match, because it's not do or die time for Spitfire, I think that LA can get off to a good start. Spitfire will bring it back, especially if they play as well as they did against the Gladiators. But then Valiant will eventually take this one 3-2. So I think that the higher seeds will both win here in very close matches. But of course, it's not over. On Friday, Philadelphia and New York will decide their matchup, and then on Saturday, London and Los Angeles will do the same. So, can London take down the second LA team and move on to the grand finals, or will the Valiant get in there in their first season in the league? Of course, the inaugural season, after just kind of a good start in stage 1, but it was just they didn't look especially like good. They just happened to win a lot of their close matchups. They looked bad in stage 2. Then 3 and 4, they woke up. They made great changes. They brought in new players, and the changes all worked out well for them. And they might be able to capitalize and get into the grand finals off that. And then will Philadelphia be able to be consistent and be their best selves? Because if they are their best selves, I think they can challenge even Excelsior. So I'm super hyped for these matchups. I have bowling, so I'll miss the first one, maybe part of the second one, but I'll definitely be watching the VODs because yeah, these are hype matchups. They just are. So hopefully you guys are hyped for them as well. If you got a team in here, good luck to them. Hope you have a great couple days, and then I'll see you back on Friday for the predictions on the second and or third matches.